It's completely gone, like you never worked here.
But that's impossible. They can't just erase me.
And who are you, young lady? I'm just looking for breakfast, ma.
Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that every person you've ever known has forgotten you. Your neighbors don't recognize you. Your boss says you never worked there. Even the landlord claims you have never lived in your own home. What would you do? This is the terrifying story of Esther, the woman Lagos forgot. Lagos was always alive. Cars filled the road from morning until night. Street vendors called out to customers. Music played from shops. People hurried from one place to another chasing their dreams. Among the millions of people living in the city was a young woman named Esther. Esther was 29 years old. She was smart, hardworking and kind. She had recently moved into a beautiful apartment in Lekki after years of saving money and building her career. The day she moved in, several neighbors came outside to welcome her. "Good afternoon," a middle-aged woman said with a smile. "You must be our new neighbor." Esther smiled back. "Yes, my name is Esther. I am happy to be here." "My name is Mrs. Adebayo," the woman replied. "If you ever need anything, just knock on my door." "Thank you so much." Within a few weeks, Esther became one of the most loved people in the building. Every morning, she greeted everyone with a smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Adebayo." "Good morning, Esther. How's your son doing?" "He's much better now. Thank you for asking." Whenever she saw elderly people carrying heavy bags, she helped them. One Sunday afternoon, she saw an old man struggling with several bags of groceries. "Papa, let me help you," Esther said. The old man smiled. "May God bless you, my daughter." She carried the bags all the way to his apartment. "You're too kind," he said. "It's nothing, Papa." At work, Esther was just as popular. She worked for a marketing company in Victoria Island. Her colleagues respected her because she was hardworking and always willing to help. One afternoon, her co-worker, Chioma, walked into the office looking stressed. "Esther, please help me," Chioma said. "I don't know how to finish this presentation." Esther laughed. "Relax, let's work on it together." For the next hour, they worked side by side. When they finished, Chioma looked relieved. "You just saved me," Esther smiled. That's what friends are for. Life seemed perfect. Her career was growing. She had good friends. She was respected in the neighborhood. Everything was going exactly as she had planned. But sometimes, strange things happened. Small things, things she ignored. One evening after work, Esther stopped at the roadside market to buy fruits. As she paid the seller, she noticed an old woman sitting nearby. The woman was selling herbs and traditional medicines. Unlike the busy traders around her, she was completely silent. Her eyes were fixed on Esther. The stare made Esther uncomfortable. As she turned to leave, the old woman suddenly spoke. "My daughter." Esther stopped. The woman's voice sounded serious. "Yes, Mama." The old woman slowly stood up. "Guard your name carefully." Esther frowned. "My name?" The woman nodded. "When a name is forgotten, even a shadow can lose its owner." Esther looked confused. She forced a small laugh. "I'm sorry, Mama, I don't understand." The old woman did not smile. "You will understand soon." A chill ran down Esther's spine. For a moment, she wanted to ask more questions, but a car horn sounded nearby. When she looked back at the woman, she simply shook her head and sat down again. Esther shrugged and continued home. "Some people just like speaking in riddles," she muttered. That night, she completely forgot about the strange warning. The next morning, Esther woke up feeling refreshed. The sun was shining brightly. It looked like another normal day. She got dressed and stepped outside. As usual, she saw Mrs. Adebayo sweeping in front of her apartment. "Good morning, Mrs. Adebayo." The woman looked up. Instead of smiling, she stared at Esther with confusion. "Good morning," she replied slowly. Esther noticed the strange look. "How are you today?" Mrs. Adebayo frowned. "I'm fine." There was an awkward silence. Then the woman asked, "I'm sorry, have we met before?" Esther laughed. Mrs. Adebayo, stop joking." But the woman wasn't laughing. "No, seriously, who are you?" The smile disappeared from Esther's face. What do you mean? I don't think I've seen you before. Esther stared at her. Her heart skipped a beat. Just yesterday, they had spent almost 20 minutes talking about her son. How did she suddenly forget? Mrs. Adebayo, it's me, Esther. I live right here. The woman looked even more confused. I'm sorry, I think you're mistaken. Esther forced another laugh. Okay, nice joke. But deep inside, she felt something wasn't right. She walked away feeling uneasy. For the first time in a very long time, fear began to creep into her heart. At first, Esther convinced herself that Mrs. Adebayo had simply been distracted. Maybe she wasn't paying attention. Maybe she was tired. There had to be a reasonable explanation. But before noon, everything even seemed stranger. On her way to work, Esther stopped at a food stand where she bought breakfast almost every day. The woman was selling food, and she had known her for months. Good morning, Auntie BC, Esther said cheerfully. The woman looked up. Yes. I would like the usual. Auntie BC frowned. The usual? Yes, bread and tea. The woman shook her head. Sorry, have we met before? Esther froze. What? Have we met before? The woman repeated. Esther felt a knot form in her stomach. Auntie BC, I buy breakfast here almost every morning. The woman stared blankly. I'm sorry, I don't remember you. Esther suddenly lost her appetite. She paid for the food and quickly left. As she walked away, her mind raced. Something was wrong, very wrong. When she finally arrived at her office, she hoped everything would return to normal. Instead, things became worse. The receptionist looked at her strangely. Can I help you? The woman asked. Esther laughed nervously. Very funny. The receptionist didn't laugh. Excuse me. It's me, Esther. The receptionist shook her head. I don't know any Esther. A cold wave of fear washed over her. She hurried toward her department. As soon as she entered, conversation stopped. The coworkers looked at her. None of them seemed to recognize her. Choma stood up. Can we help you? Esther stared at her. Choma, what's going on? Choma looked confused. How do you know my name? Esther's heart pounded. What kind of joke is this? Nobody answered. She rushed into the manager's office. The manager looked surprised. Who are you? Esther could barely breathe. Sir, it's me, Esther. The manager shook his head. I'm sorry, but I've never seen you before. No. Esther stepped backward. No, that's impossible. She rushed to the human resources department. After checking their computer records, the officer looked up. We have no employee here by that name. Esther felt dizzy. What do you mean? The officer turned the monitor towards her. There is no Esther in our database. Her hands began to shake. This can't be happening. She pulled out her phone. Quickly, she searched for old work emails. One by one, they were gone. Projects she had completed had disappeared. Messages had vanished. Years of work were simply missing. By evening, Esther felt exhausted and terrified. She left the office and rushed home, but another shock was waiting for her. When she reached her apartment building, she noticed unfamiliar people inside her apartment. A family, a man, a woman, and 2 children. Esther stood frozen. What are you doing in my house? The man looked surprised. Your house? Yes, my apartment. The family exchanged nervous glances. At that moment, the landlord appeared. What's going on here? He asked. Esther pointed at the apartment. Tell them to leave. The landlord frowned. Leave where? My apartment. The landlord looked confused. Young woman, this apartment has been vacant for months until this family rented it last week. Esther stared at him in disbelief. No, I've been living here. The landlord shook his head. I think you have the wrong building. Desperately, Esther pulled out her rental agreement. Look, but as everyone watched, the words on this paper slowly began to fade. The ink disappeared until the paper became completely blank. A terrified silence filled the air. Esther stared at the empty paper. Her hands trembled. For the first time, she realized something horrifying. Someone or something was erasing her from the world, and she had no idea why. That night, Esther had nowhere to go. She sat alone on a bench near a quiet street, holding the blank rental agreement in her hands. Cars passed by. People walked past her. Nobody paid attention to her. For the first time in her life, Esther felt completely alone. She thought about everything that had happened. Her neighbors had forgotten her. Her co-workers had forgotten her. Her landlord had forgotten her. Even the records of her life were disappearing. Then she remembered the old woman at the market, the woman who had warned her, "Guard your name carefully." Esther quickly stood up. She knew something, she whispered. The next morning, she began searching for the old woman. She returned to the market where they had met. The fruit seller recognized neither Esther nor her questions. But after asking many people, she finally found someone who knew the old herbalist. "She doesn't stay in one place," a trader told her. "Where can I find her?" The trader pointed towards another part of the city. "Try the old market near the waterfront." For 2 days, Esther searched. She walked through crowded markets. She walked through crowded streets. She visited market after market. Finally, on the third day, she found the old woman sitting beneath a large tree. The woman looked up as Esther approached. She did not seem surprised. "I knew you would come." Esther rushed forward. "Mama, please help me." The old woman nodded slowly. "Sit down, my daughter." Esther sat. Tears filled her eyes. "People don't know me anymore. My home is gone. My work is gone. Everything is disappearing." The old woman listened quietly. When Esther finished speaking, the woman sighed. "The keeper has found you." Esther frowned. "The keeper?" The old woman looked around before speaking. "There's an old spirit known as the keeper of forgotten names." Esther's heart pounded. "What does it do?" "It feeds on lost identities. It seeks people whose true names have been forgotten." The words made no sense. "My true name? Esther is my name." The old woman shook her head. "No." Esther stared at her. "What do you mean?" The old woman was silent for a moment. Then she spoke carefully. "You were not born with the name Esther." The words seemed to stop. "What? You were given that name later." Esther's mouth fell open. "That's impossible." The old woman looked directly into her eyes. "You were adopted as a child." Esther felt dizzy. "No." "You must find the truth." The old woman reached into a small bag and removed an old necklace. A small symbol was carved into it. "Take this." "What is this?" "It belonged to your family." Esther stared at the necklace. Questions flooded her mind. "If I was adopted, why didn't anyone tell me?" "Sometimes people hide painful truths," the old woman replied. "How do I stop this spirit?" "You must remember who you truly are." The old woman pointed towards the north. "Your answers are waiting in your ancestral village." A few days later, Esther began her journey. Using clues from old documents and the symbol on the necklace, she traveled to a small village far away from Lagos. The village was peaceful. Tall trees surrounded it. Children played near dusty roads. When Esther arrived, many villagers looked at her with curiosity. She showed the necklace to an elderly man sitting outside the compound. The man's eyes widened. "Where did you get this?" "It belonged to my family," she said. The old man stood slowly. "Come with me." He led her to a group of village elders. They examined the necklace carefully. One elder looked shocked. "I haven't seen this symbol in many years." "Do you know who I am?" Esther asked. The elders exchanged glances. Finally, one of them spoke. "You resemble a woman who left this village long ago." Esther leaned forward. "Who was she?" "Your mother." Tears filled Esther's eyes. For hours, the elders told her stories. Years ago, a terrible accident had separated her from her family. She had been taken far away and eventually adopted. Over time, her original identity had been forgotten. Even the name she received at birth had disappeared from memory. Then another elder revealed something surprising. "Your grandmother once faced the keeper of forgotten names." Esther looked up. "What happened?" "She survived." "How?" The elder sighed. She remembered who she was. As evening approached, the oldest elder called Esther aside. His face looked serious. "There's little time." "What do you mean?" "The next moonrise is approaching." Fear returned to Esther's heart. "If you do not remember your true name before then, the keeper will erase you forever." Esther's hand began to tremble. How can I remember something I don't know? The elder pointed towards a sacred forest beyond the village. The answer is waiting there. As darkness fell, Esther looked towards the forest. A strange wind moved through the trees, and somewhere in the distance, she thought she heard whispers calling her name, or perhaps calling the name she had forgotten. The next day, Esther entered the sacred forest. The air felt different there. The deeper she walked, the quieter everything became. Even the birds seemed afraid to sing. As she moved forward, strange things began to happen. When she looked into a pool of water, she saw no reflection. She touched her face. She was still there, but the water showed nothing. Fear gripped her chest. The erasing was getting worse. Hours later, she reached a clearing. At the center stood an ancient tree. The necklace around her neck suddenly grew warm, then the whispers returned. This time they were louder. Voices surrounded her, thousands of voices. Some looked sad, some looked angry, some sounded lost. A cold wind swept across the clearing. Dark shadows gathered beneath the tree. Slowly they joined together. A giant figure appeared. Its body seemed to have been made of smoke and darkness. Countless faces moved across its surface. Faces of forgotten people. Faces no one remembered anymore. The keeper of forgotten names had arrived. The spirit's voice echoed through the forest. Esther. The sound sent chills through her body. You are almost gone. Esther forced herself to stand tall. What do you want from me? The spirit laughed. The faces covering its body laughed with it. I want nothing. The keeper moved closer. You belong to me already. No, you have no name. The whispers grew louder. No family remembers you. The ground shook. No records remain. The spirit stretched a dark hand out. Soon, even you will forget yourself. For a moment, Esther felt hopeless. Everything the spirit said seemed true. Then she remembered the stories from the village, her mother, her grandmother, her family. She was not alone. The keeper's voice thundered again. Without memory, you are nothing. Suddenly, a memory flashed through Esther's mind. A woman singing softly, a lullaby. Then another memory appeared. A bracelet with the same symbol as the necklace. Then another. A little girl running through the village. Someone calling after her. A name. The sound was faint. Very faint. Esther closed her eyes. The memories came faster. Her mother's smile. Her grandmother's voice. The village. The accident. Then she heard it clearly. The name she had carried at birth, the name that had been lost. Her eyes opened. The keeper sensed the change. No! The spirit stepped backward. Esther stood tall. For the first time, she was no longer afraid. She spoke her true name aloud. The moment the name left her lips, a powerful light burst through the clearing. The ancient trees shook. The ground trembled. The keeper screamed. The countless faces covering its body began to disappear. One by one, they dissolved into the wind. The spirit's roar echoed through the forest. Then it shattered into darkness. Silence returned. The battle was over. The next morning, Esther woke up in the village. The necklace rested beside her. For the first time in days, she felt whole. When she returned to Lagos, everything had changed. Mrs. Adebayo smiled when she saw her. Esther, where have you been? Her co-workers welcomed her back. Chioma hugged her tightly. I've been calling you for days. Her apartment was hers again. Her records had returned. Her life was restored. But Esther was no longer the same person. She now understood something important. Her identity was not built on popularity. It was not built on money. It was not built on what other people thought of her. Her true identity came from knowing who she really was, and that was something no spirit could ever take away. The lesson is, the world may forget your face, your success, or even your name, but as long as you remember who you truly are, you can never be erased. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and nobody remembered who you were? Let me know your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another African folktale. And remember, no matter what the world forgets, never forget who you truly are. Until the next story, stay safe and stay curious. Bye.